Welcome to the session on cloud automation for Industry 4.0. My name is Ewa Duerr, and I am a product ops lead for Cloud AI EMEA engineering team in Munich. One of Google's primary goals is to democratize AI and automation and make it easy and accessible for all industries. Our vision is to harness the power of AI for the industry across multiple verticals: retail, logistics, manufacturing, automotive, and many others. However, before we deep dive into that vision, I want to get us started by looking at the state of the automation today. Automation today is only economical at scale. The upfront costs of integration are huge, and the results are inflexible to changes in workflows. However, there is a new trend emerging on the market. A new generation of collaborative robots are making the automation much more affordable. They are equipped with modern sensors and software layers that are easy to program. This new generation of robots are useful in unpredictable environments and work side by side with humans. We still have to tackle a couple of challenges before we can leverage the benefits of that new technology. Firstly, the setup and maintenance of robot fleets today is typically brought to the market by system integrators that create highly customized solutions to individual clients. As a result, only large industrial customers can afford automation, and then mostly only for highly repetitive tasks. Secondly, given this highly customized nature of integration, there is a strong vendor lock-in. If you want to renew your robot fleet or use different type of robots, setup and maintenance becomes extremely complex. Thirdly, most of the assets used for automation use cases are proprietary. Thus, it's hard for both software developers and hardware manufacturers to scale their applications. And as a result, they are forced to deploy bespoke solutions for individual clients. Last but not least, most of the solutions are deployed only on-premise, which hinders scalability, flexibility, and efficiency. At Google Cloud, we are dedicated to handle those challenges in order to make automation easier and more affordable. Our cloud automation platform provides foundational capabilities for cloud-enabled automation solutions that are scalable, support large data volumes and speed, flexible, allowing flexible distribution and deployment of software assets, and efficient, permit better utilization and infrastructure as a software provisioning. Our cloud automation solution allows companies that are interested in the promise of Industry 4.0 to turn their operations into the competitive advantage. And the key word here is flexibility. That is the ability to easily connect and operate the fleet independently of the vendor. One key technology behind that is Kubernetes, which builds on years of experience of Google in automatic deploying and scaling software assets. We also address fundamental security concepts such as authentication and authorization. We also facilitate reliable connectivity and communication with synchronous and asynchronous communication. And last but not least, we provide critical infrastructure for sensor data aggregation and processing that builds on familiar technologies such as Bigtable, BigQuery, and Dataflow. As mentioned, the key technology behind that is Kubernetes. Using Kubernetes, we enable the distribution of containerized software assets that can run on 3 tiers: on robot, on-premise, and in the cloud. We use Kubernetes to enable robot hardware abstraction and command and control that is tolerant to intermittent connectivity. With Kubernetes technology, we also create the opportunity for third-party developers to quickly engage with our platform and develop on that. On top of that, we want to enable the vision of what we started calling digital twin. This is the mirror of the physical world in the digital world. Imagine the robot running through that warehouse and collecting the data on inventory levels. Exactly the same robot can run through that warehouse and flag damaged items, creating new opportunities for quality management and inventorization. That is, digital twin and AI capabilities with perception-driven capabilities open the whole set of new opportunities that go much beyond automation. Last but not least, on top of this, all this critical infrastructure, we want to offer third-party services that leverage cloud automation platform and solve critical pain points for the clients. The first one is localization and mapping that uses data from sensors like LiDARs and depth cameras. It allows robots to create a map, localize themselves on that map, and recognize static landmarks. With our spatial intelligence service, we further want to analyze that sensor data and semantically understand the environment. Direct robots to rows, shelves, instead of just metric coordinates. Last but not least, with our object intelligence service, we can use the same data to discover and identify important objects and their location in the workspace. That allows robots to perform certain operations on those items. So how does all that look in action? The best early implementation of that technology is Bechtle Logistics. That's where we work with Bechtle, SAP as a provider of warehouse management system, MIR, Mobile Industrial Robots, the provider of hardware robot fleet, and NavVis, the enabler of the digital twin. But before I talk too much about Bechtle, I just want to invite Bechtle itself on stage, Klaus Kratz, the head of logistics at Bechtle, to tell you about his experience and how we are making impact with our technology there.
Okay.
Welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Eva, thank you very much for the introduction and having me. I'm indeed very happy to be here in San Francisco. As you have mentioned, we are from Germany, and Germany is the country of the thinkers and the poets. So why I should be here in this incredible, innovative place? Because I have taken, or I have adopted your mentality, your spirit, the American spirit, just to do whatever it takes to gain new knowledge and new competences. Also, that's why I'm very enthusiastic to have started this project with Google, with NavVis, SAP, and mir. At Bechtle, this is our headquarters. At Bechtle, I'm responsible for logistics. We sell hardware, software, IT solutions, and IT services, and of course, cloud services. We are a European company, and we have partners all over the world. For example, PC Connection in Massachusetts is a partner of us in America. We have more than 10,000 employees and 17,000 happy customers. Bechtle is, in my opinion, a German success story, not at the scale of Google, of course, but we have tripled our revenues within the last 10 years from 4.2 billion euro to from 1.8 billion euro to 4.2 billion euro, and our target is for the next 10 years to double again with turnover to 10 billion euro. To reach this target, we have to integrate our customers more deeply, increase efficiency, flexibility and quality within our processes and systems, and find ways to cooperate with future strategic partners. When the wind of change blows, some people, they build walls, others, they build windmills, and we are building windmills. Bechtle Logistik has to change from volume distribution to solution distribution. On this way, we already provide value-added services, such as individual tagging, packaging, repackaging, and transporting, and also sustainable solution. Maybe in the near future, we will have a flat rate for workplace, for all IT equipment and software a customer needs, including the recycling and disposal of used hardware. Currently, we have 4 main warehouses. The biggest warehouse is in Germany. We have other warehouses in France, Switzerland, and Netherlands. In the past, we had to optimize and physically alter our warehouses, which require a lot of time and improvisation skills, and a lot of money, as you can see within the next photos. And this is really reality. So why we have this drilling machine in our warehouse? Because we had to implement a mezzanine within our warehouse, and we had to drill 30 holes, 11 meter deep. And this is really logistic things, yeah? It's really tough, and we have done like Christo every night. We have covered our racks to avoid dust to our articles, and then you can see the mezzanine. It's 3,500 square meters. You see the white ellipse. Behind this, there are people working, and an American colleague said to me, "Oh, this is very bad because it's against work security restrictions." So I have hidden these 2 people there. But you can see a stage, a mezzanine is growing, and this is the actual warehouse. In the rack, we have big parts like servers, PCs, notebooks, and on the mezzanine, we have small parts like cables and USB sticks. In the future, we will need many more warehouses in Germany and also in Europe, with the possibility to automate processes, adapt them to customer requirements. We need, in the future, very high flexibility, dynamics, scalability, and very short throughputs to deliver to our customer as fast as possible. Our customers can count on us for the support they need to reach their own targets as they transition to German Industry 4.0. The future warehouse, in my opinion, is a combination of traditional technologies like high-rack warehouse systems and modern technologies or new technologies like autonomous mobile robots. In our warehouse, as Eva has said, we have already implemented the Google SAP mir NavVis solution. we are using the solution for tasks such as cross-stocking items. Cross-stocking items means that in inbound logistics, we get the information from SAP that customer orders have already been placed for these items. Instead of processing put away and picking, we bring these items directly to the outbound logistics. In the past, we did this with electrical vehicles on a pallet, and now we are doing it with racks, multi-level racks, and the robotics. And how it's working, I will show in a video. So this is Claudio, the Mir robot. It's Claudio 1. With the support of its sensors, Claudio picks up the cart on which are cross-stocking items. Claudio starts to drive autonomously to his designated destination. And Claudio drives within a defined zone and avoids barriers that may occur on its way independently by going around them. Claudio observes the environment. Still, our people have get used to it. In some critical areas with cross-traffic or forklifts, Claudio is emitting sounds to get the attention. Claudio transports the cart to its designated destination and moves out for new tasks. Yeah, it's great. And this is a great team from Google, SAP, and Bechtle. As a result of using autonomous mobile robots and future optimization, we can achieve flexible automation, process optimization, scalability, and productivity. And yeah, I had a good example from a forklift driver because we are very transparent, and if we change to such new technologies, we have an open communication. We speak with our people and to persuade them. Because we have an unemployment rate of 2% in the region I'm working, so we have to be forced to automate our warehouses because we don't get any more people. We have to qualify them, and so the people have realized that this is possible, and they are not afraid. And the forklift driver, the next day, I have mentioned that we go in this strategy, he said to me, but Mr. Kratz, you have to pay attention with the robotics because I don't want to crash him. So people immediately think about, and this is great, in my opinion, think immediately what will happen with these new technologies. And this is also the adoption of the people for these new technologies. So thank you very much for your attention. And if you are ever in Germany, feel free to come by and say hello.
Thank you very much, Klaus, for bringing your valuable perspective to that audience and sharing your experiences with our project.
Yep.
Yep. Shall I sit here? Yeah, just thank you. We'll continue. This is exactly the best implementation of how we and our partners, such as Mir, NavVis, and SAP, can make an impact for businesses like Bechtle. In particular, we need to make sure that we make automation drastically simpler and less expensive. Our core value proposition thus has to be flexible automation with collaborative robots that can seamlessly and gradually be deployed into the existing environment as needed. Secondly, we need to escape the vendor lock-in trap and enable an easy deployment of heterogeneous fleet that are vendor agnostic. Clients like Bechtle shouldn't have to take care of coordinating the robots and processes between different kinds of robots. Rather, we should enable an ERP system, the assignment of tasks and orders in an intelligent manner across various robots. Thirdly, we now have a chance to grow our impact by shaping new opportunities in analytics For example, quality management, inventorization, space management, and so on and so forth. By putting our AI capabilities into action, will enable the vision of digital twin, generating new insights that go much beyond pure automation. Finally, we need to break away from purely on-prem solutions that are difficult to scale and suffer from limited flexibility and low resource utilization. Rather, cloud automation should use Kubernetes to enable easy deployment and distribution of containerized software assets that can run on robot, on-premise, and in the cloud. With all that, we can generate real business impact that allows fast and easy automation and enables the flexibility in setting up and maintaining automation processes. It facilitates efficiency and increased utilization by efficient fleet management, better and faster localization, and optimized path planning. It also triggers productivity improvements by turning analytics into action and opening new opportunities in inventory space and quality management. And last but not least, it provides basis for scalability, competitiveness, and better customer service that will allow businesses to reap new revenue sources and engage with new clients. But to enable all that vision and leverage that technology, we need to work with our partners and grow that platform into an ecosystem where each of the participants can benefit and contribute, providing their complementary skills. That's why we invited some of them today to share their experiences with Cloud Automation Platform and explain to you how we can all create new business opportunities for them. And on that note, I want to invite on stage our partners. Nemrude Verzano, head of Industry 4.0 at SAP. He leads innovation projects in the areas of logistics, manufacturing, and retail, and drives programs for the intelligent enterprise strategy for SAP. Thank you very much for being here. Welcome stage. We also will have Niels Jacobsen, co-founder and CSO of Mir Mobile Industrial Robots, one of the largest collaborative robotics manufacturers in the world. Thank you for coming. Then we have Felix Reinshagen, co-founder and CEO of NavVis, a powerful platform for the digital twin for indoor applications. Thank you very much for flying over to San Francisco. And last but not least, we have Moritz Tenorth, CTO of Magazino, that builds and develops intelligence collaborative robots for intralogistics with particular focus on mobile picking robots. Thank you very much. We have one chair too much. Thanks, you guys. Hope you had a good trip. Thanks for coming here and sharing your experiences to that audience on the Cloud Automation Platform. I want to get us started by asking you the same question to all of you. Please explain how are your companies benefiting from the Cloud Automation Platform? What are the key challenges that you are facing at this stage, and what are the benefits that you are drawing from working together in that ecosystem? And maybe let's get us started with Mir, getting from the bottom of the stack, from the hardware.
Okay, I can say that at Mir we develop and manufacture what you call autonomous mobile robots, or AMR. And we do that for indoor transportation to help the logistic there, to optimize logistic, and also, as we heard before, actually to free some of the working force there. So some of the challenges we see there, as you have already mentioned actually, is the cost of integration. We are distributing all our robots through a network of integrators, and they are taking the robots to the end users, integrating that for that purpose, and it still takes a lot of time and is costly, even though we have a simple system to operate on there. And then you can also say that sometimes at the customer, there always are new way of using the robots that they would like, and that's always something that you not can provide out of the box. Then the customer has to wait either for a software upgrade from our side or find another solution for that. And then we have the last more challenge is the integration with a ERP or warehouse management system there. We also see that there tends to be a lot of specialized software there. And here we really see that this cloud solution can go in and help us on many of the points there. This ability to have versioning and updating of your system more or less for free there. We also see that with the cloud platform there, the ability to have data aggregated to the cloud in a way that you can do analysis is now possible on a much larger scale, and also the ability to have add-in plugs like an SAP integration there can be of great help for us.
You mentioned SAP and the integration with the ERP system. What is SAP saying on that? What are the key challenges that you are facing, and building on that point exactly? How are you benefiting from working with us and with Niels and all the other partners? Rudy.
Yeah, the thing is that SAP has a lot of customers, not only in warehouse management environment. And more of our customers are interested in making use of collaborative robots. And the thing is, usually also our customers have different kind of specific processes they want to have being customized depending on which areas they are, like mining, manufacturing, discrete and process industries, or logistics. The thing, of course, is that looking at those devices, those robots, they have different kind of capabilities compared to static robots that can be trained, they can repeat their processes over and over again, while you have seen it on the pictures, on the video, that they have more capabilities, more dynamic features that need to be considered. So in our case, we cannot really cover everything, and therefore we need a kind of a flexible environment where we can also integrate customers, partners, and third-party solutions easily. And that's what the cloud robotics platform will help us to cope with all kind of challenges that are related to collaborative robots in this case. Just as an example, if Kratz is going to make use of further fleets that are not from Mir or from Magazino, then the challenge will be to orchestrate them. Okay, and to orchestrate them is one thing, but to assign the task from the back end accordingly will be the next thing. So, but to do it over and over again for every customer would not make sense at all. So we will be definitely benefiting from this cloud robotics initiative to plug in existing solutions, even custom developed solutions for specific customers, and we can deploy them easily regardless if that component is being deployed on the robot, in the cloud, on-prem, depending on the use case, of course. And we will be definitely be more flexible than we were in the past to integrate all kinds of devices. That is our point.
Building on the point of both Niels and Rudy mentioned cloud, Felix, you are gathering with enabler of the digital twin a lot of data. How are you benefiting from the cloud and from the cloud automation platform at this stage?
perhaps let me say a few words on what we are doing at NavVis, because this whole term of digital twin is gaining a lot of momentum, and I think it still needs a little bit of explanation. So what we are doing is we do not model environment, but we scan environment, and we scan it on mobile devices. Think about the mini version of the famous Google car, now capable of working without GPS and equipped with scanners, with cameras, and it creates super dense and detailed 3D maps of its environment that we then overlay with more information and make walkable digital twins out of that you can access in your browser. And that's the point. Today, we are creating already digital twins of manufacturing facilities for a lot of the largest automotive companies in the world. But the data is being created and processed in a form that it's most catering towards human beings for space optimization, logistics optimization. However, of course, we want to make this data accessible for our clients in a much more flexible way. And we believe that in the future, this data will be perhaps even be used by more robots than human beings. And then all the points come into play that you mentioned before. There will be very different kinds of robots. And they all need to be capable of accessing not only our data, but potentially as well other model data. So at the end, we need good automation. We need standardized interfaces that allow for a variety of different robots as well as software solutions to make use of this data. That will make our clients happy, and of course will drive the adoption of what we are doing. So that's why we're here.
Yeah, and building on that, Moritz, you are not only building hardware, but also software. What are the key challenges that you are facing, and how is cloud helping you with do that?
Yeah, so with our company, we're building the hardware, but especially all the software and the cloud integration for mobile robots that not only navigate and transport, but also pick. And these robots can operate alongside the humans in the same environment, so they can drive through the warehouses, identify the items, pick from the shelves, can also stow into the shelves, and basically do all of this in a shared environment with humans that pick the same items from the same shelves and so on. And especially this collaboration with humans creates lots of challenges, because humans change the world, and compared to classical robots that really like it when everything is deterministic and predefined, we live in a pretty uncertain world. We're still in a warehouse, we're not in a children's room in the afternoon. That is much more uncertain probably, but the world is changing constantly. And the big challenge is how do you, on the one hand, design software that is scalable, that is capable of analyzing this data, that is can perceive the world and derive the right actions from that? How do you develop and deploy this software to a fleet of robots that are somewhere in the warehouses? But the big challenge, I think, that we're sharing with all other people dealing with autonomous robots is basically how to make them robust. So how to make it resilient to changes, to perturbations, to all kinds of changes that the robots have to cope with. And that's a pretty data-driven thing. So the developers don't sit next to the robots. They don't see what happened. So you really need to transfer all this context, all this information from the robots to the developers or to your machine learning algorithms. And that's something where we can really benefit from the cloud, I think. On the one hand, for using computation in the cloud, on the other hand, also for using data storage. So how can we stream the data to make it available for easy debugging, also make it available for automated machine learning on that. And another track is definitely how can we use cloud technology in order to deploy software on the robots, on the on-premise service and the cloud service. And for example, with the cloud engine, how do we deploy applications on all of these different layers at the same time? How do we roll it back and so that's super useful for us.
And that's definitely the key point here is the integration between the hardware and the software. And coming back to the hardware once more, Niels, how do you see the future for collaborative robotics, and how this open platform and open ecosystem can help you grow the market in the future?
You could say in a way we've already seen with our mobile robot that there's a whole community now building what we call top modules. So that is different platforms you put on top of the robots, and that is already striving, but it's still limited in a way because we cannot add new software to it in an easy way. So it's my hope that we, in this way, can envision that actually is becoming a community that can provide new solutions for us. not only the hardware, but also the capability of moving the robot in another way. We can have someone following people, knowing what to do. And this can actually be a kind of business where these software companies are living from just creating this additional tool set for different kind of vendors there. We see that as a really a kind of hope for that, because we have many ones today that want to build more really good solutions, but are just too small companies for that because this environment is too spread. Then we also see this ability to move a lot of the computing from the robot into the cloud. It's something we have been hoping for more than 10 years, but now we think that the foundation there is more or less ready. So we can see the first thing there. Things like planning how the robot is moving from in the warehouse there. Of course, the robot on their own can do that, but now we have several hundreds of robots moving together. How this orchestration, as we talked on before, how that can be done, that just makes a demand for much more computing power that shouldn't be on the robot there, but should be on some kind of a cloud computing platform there. And last, I think we just released our first AI product this week. So AI is really coming onto the robots there, but we'll see much more of that. This is really a field that's moving very, very fast, and I don't think any vendor can sit down and say, we can do it the best. We need to be open and see what others can come up with there, and we really feel, and also some of the things you have presented this week here, that these are really, really good platforms on how the robots can learn to interact much more with the people. So we really hope that the cloud robotics platform will be the right tool for that.
So enabling the deployment and the distribution of new services, new applications. Moritz, you mentioned you are building a lot of software for your robots and for your hardware. How would that help you in deployment and distribution? Is that the Kubernetes that is the technology here?
So Kubernetes at the different layers really promises to facilitate this whole the whole DevOps tasks that you have to do on many robots that are in the field with different internet connectivity levels, also having some on-premise installations, some cloud installations, and so on. And that can be pretty challenging if you have large fleets, also different hardware. So I mean, it's not all virtualized. You really have physical devices behind that are mechanically different there, and really deploying to these things, managing them, having the fleet and data management. I think that is one big thing that we can benefit from. Another one is to really use the cloud capabilities for making these robots more intelligent, more robust, so doing more machine learning in the cloud, but also using existing services from the cloud and integrating them more easily. And I think the third part is what's also planned for the robotics platform, to have the marketplace, so that we can benefit from other people's components, for example, the localization component, or also maybe some image recognition or so parts, but that we can also use it for sharing our own applications with others. So if other robot vendors can use certain control components, for example, that we have a way of sharing that, and also sharing the experiences we made there on solving these real-world problems.
And building on the application and marketplace, what are the benefits in the future for you, Felix, and for NavVis as you engage on that marketplace and in that ecosystem?
So just to give an impression on what we create, it's layers and layers of data. It starts with really the replication of the physical reality in point clouds and images that then transformed into 3D models. And each step is kind of a data refinery. It puts layers and layers of data, like you start with the raw oil and end up with all the different plastics products. And of course, on all these different stages, you have very complex processing, a lot of machine learning and AI. A lot of that we do ourselves, but you are spreading yourselves very thin if you're trying to do all of that yourself. And as well, all these kind of intermediate products are as well very important raw materials, so to say, for a lot of other applications. And on all these different layers, you encounter the problem of standardizations and interfacing. And of course, we are talking about vast amounts of data. We are by now scanning tens of millions of square feet of data every single month. Some of our clients with hundreds of millions of square foot of industrial space now move from scanning perhaps once every 6 months to every month, and in the future want to scan every day. So they want to have something like a real-time digital twin. Only a very scalable and robust cloud platform can actually handle this kind of data, run continuously through all these kind of stages of data processing. So it's a matter of scalability, absolutely. It's a matter of interoperability with all the different players. And of course, I think at the end you need a marketplace, because it will be myriads of different applications that do this data refinement and as well kind of take that data and move it on each of the layers between different applications. So yeah, I think that is why we believe that kind of cloud or kind of large-scale automated robotic platforms will play such an important role for us, and I think it's not even possible to move that kind of ecosystem forward without.
Yeah. And coming back to SAP and to Rudy maybe, and building on that point of creating the marketplace and leveraging different applications for the business processes, how is ERP system and SAP dealing with that and benefiting from that? And also SAP and Google have a broader strategic partnership, so how does this project fit into the overall relationship and partnership between Google and SAP? Maybe you can comment on that.
I think this project has already proven that the combined setup, having Google as a kind of infrastructure provider to us in this robotics project, and us being able to concentrate on the business processes only, allowed us then indeed to ignore all this communication, data storage, and data management or device management stuff that all of you need, of course, need to take care of. But it allowed us to concentrate, to keep the focus on the improvements of things that we want to extend. In our case, to get the warehouse management being connected to the robots very easily, and that we can use infrastructures that are easy to integrate, to also to deploy the different components and containers very easily, and that we can identify easily which components to use for the specific use cases. This allows us, of course, on our journey to support our customers regarding the intelligent enterprises that most of our customers are up to. Also to include further capabilities that the Google Cloud Google Cloud Platform is providing. As you could see on the videos, for example, the machine learning-based vision service that Google is providing, that we can integrate easily into scenarios and use cases easily without having 2 weeks or 2 months of custom development. That will definitely be a very big benefit to many of our customers if they want really to include and enhance their processes. And usually any customer that we have is somehow interested in integrating more and more of the AI and ML capabilities. So at the moment, we can start with the foundation that we have already in place, but depending on the use case that the customer is interested in, we can pick different components that are, for example, on the cloud platform, or a customer or even our partner is providing, and integrate it into the process very easily. And compared to former times, it is by far more easier now to do so, and especially also in conjunction with the Industry 4.0 initiative in Germany that I'm also driving. Our goal is to have an environment where we can do plug and play of devices, of robots, that our customers can easily integrate the devices in their process, in their business, but also make use of intelligent services that can be coming, of course, from Google, from the Google Cloud Platform, but also from embedded business applications that we already have in place. So therefore, it is definitely a complementary setup to enable our customers accomplishing the goal to have an intelligent enterprise in the near future.
Yeah. And definitely Google is as well, on that positive note, benefiting from the partnership with SAP, with the business knowledge and B2B applications. So I think we all can benefit from that. And since we are running out of time, I don't think there is a better way to end that panel just by saying that we as Google are only as successful as our partners are. So we are happy that you are happy, so to speak. And for our clients like Bechtle, we definitely want to drive business impact, drive efficiency, scalability, flexibility for our partners, whether they are startups, developers, ERP providers, and so on and so forth. We definitely want to enable new business opportunities and enable you to reap new revenue sources and grow the market reach. So that's our common goal, I think, for all of us. So on that positive note, thank you very much for your attention, and feel free to reach out to us after this session if you have any questions. Thank you.